Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا عَرْضُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Hasten, سارعوا, musara'a, hasten to your Lord and to this forgiveness that your Lord's offering you, and hasten to a paradise. Just the ard of it is like the heavens and the earth. In Surah Al-Hadid, Allah says, سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله. So in one Allah says سارعوا, in the other He says سابقوا. Both of them indicate a hastening. Like the poet who said, السباق السباق قولا وفعلا حذر النفس حسرة مسبوقي. Like hasten quickly, quickly in word and deed, and warn the self, the nafs, about the grief of the day of the losers, the ones who didn't take this opportunity, the opportunity of life. The Prophet ﷺ said in a really amazing hadith, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. Ightanim is to get this ghanima, which is what you get in a war. But it also here, it means seize this, seize 5 before 5. And then he lays out really a plan for putting your life into proper perspective. اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس حياتك قبل موتك أو مماتك. حياتك قبل موتك. Your life before your death. This is the big picture. We're alive and then we're going to be dead. There were people, this prayer of Friday prayer has been prayed for over 1400 years. Many people have prayed this prayer. Friday, maybe 60 years, some of them who had long lives, every Friday they went to the masjid unless they were sick or something. They're all gone. They're all gone. And all they left behind is their deeds in this world and whatever khair that they did, their sadaqah jariyah, whatever khair they did, but they're gone. They saw sunsets, they said subhanallah, they said mashallah, they got angry, they laughed, they told jokes. All of these things that humans do, and now it's our time. And then we're gone. And there's other people here with all the same problems, the same arguments, the same debates. Why isn't your robe shorter? Why isn't your beard longer? This is some of the silliness of our community. Al-Mutanabbi said, أغاية الدين أن تحفوا شواربكم يا أمة ضحكت عليها الأمم. Is this the extent of your religion, the length of your beard? Oh, ummah, that all the nations are laughing at. I mean, so it shows you back then. Zamakhshari has famous lines where he says, don't tell people your madhab because you're always going to find people find fault in you. They cancel culture. You think it's new? Like cancel culture is new? There's nothing new about cancel culture. People have been canceled since Cain and Abel. Cain canceled Abel. This is human. So have this big picture. Your life is here now. You're living. You have hayy. You're hayy. But not forever, for a short time. اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. And then he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, أو كما قال according to Imam Ahmad and Al-Hakim and Al-Bayhaqi, this is a sound hadith. And then he said, وصحتك قبل سقمك. The next most important thing after life itself, in order to do things, is health. So you need to be hayy, but then you need to be sahih. Because once you're sick, you can't do anything. So now you have the time, you have the health. I'm warning myself, wallahi, first and foremost. Because I'm old now. I'm not young. Many of you are very young people. We were young like you. You know, it goes very quickly. The Romans, they said, tempus fugit, time flies. It flew for them like a bird. Now it flies like a jet plane. But it flew for them. Time flies. Your health. The Arabs, they say, الصحة تاج على رؤوس الصحة لا يراه إلا المرضى. Health is a crown on the heads of healthy people that only sick people can see. What a blessing just to be healthy, not to be in pain, not to be suffering, not to be sick. People have dementia now. Dementia is a global problem, partly because nasullah fa'ansahum anfusuhum. They forgot Allah, and so Allah caused them to forget themselves. And what greater baliyah than to forget your Lord, but the next greatest baliyah is to forget yourself. This is dementia now. We have spiritual dementia. You know everything and remember all the things you did yesterday, but if you forgot your Lord, you have spiritual dementia. So he said, take your health before your sickness. قبل سقمك. Because everybody gets sick. Murabat al-Hajj used to say, لا خير في جسد. If people got sick there in the desert. And when you get sick in the desert, like Shaykhna said to me, we were driving one day and there was a car crash in the desert and people got really hurt and there were people helping them. And he said, there's no 911 here in Mauritania. There's no 911 to call the ambulance. There's just people get sick and they die. So he said, your health before your sickness, because we're all going to get sick. So Marabt al-Haji said, لا خير في جسد إذا لم يمرض. There's no good in a body that doesn't get sick. It's a blessing because one of the most important things about sickness is بضدها تعرف الأشياء. By their opposites, you know things. So when you get sick, suddenly you remember the great blessing of health. It's a great blessing, health. And then you remember when you get sick. And then when you're sick, you can't remember being well. And you think you're never going to get out of it. Even the flu, you feel like it's going to go on forever. And then suddenly you're well again. Salman al-Farisi, he said the kuffar, when they get sick, you know, they're like a camel that gets hobbled and then they get well. It's like the hobbling cord got taken off. They just forget and they just go wandering again. So the sickness is a blessing, but we ask for afiyah. Al-afiyatu awsa'u li. The Prophet asked for well-being. Is'alullah al-afiyah. If he saw people in tribulation, he reminded them, ask Allah for afiyah. We want afiyah, well-being in everything. But sickness, when it comes, you can't do anything. You're just tarih al-farash, like the Arabs say, in bed, bedridden. And then this other amazing blessing, which we don't think about. وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغْلِكَ. Your leisure before your preoccupation. Because wallahi, we get preoccupied. When you're young, one of the reasons they say in Mauritania, they have very prodigious memories. But they say that young people memorize quickly and easily, not because they have better memories, they don't. They said it's because they're not preoccupied. Because when you become an adult and you have adult responsibilities, your mind, mushattat, it becomes distracted. You know, distractere from the Latin, to tear apart. You're being pulled, you're thinking of all these things. It's hard just to sit down with an empty heart and fill it with useful things. So that's very important. Leisure. Leisure is not, it's not the time to go and play. Leisure is free time to work on yourself, to study, to learn, to become educated, to do dhikr of Allah. We waste so much time. And time is an invaluable thing. The Arabs say that time can, لا قيمة له. In other words, it can't be, لا يقيم. It cannot be measured in any evaluation. Why? Because the only way you can measure something in terms of evaluation is in another thing where there's some type of relationship. So gold, for instance, is the traditional standard. So this gold is precious, but it has a price. It's not priceless. It has a price. Time cannot be evaluated because it's priceless. There's nothing like time. It has absolute pricelessness. It cannot be ever, there's no valuation of time. And so with loss of time is loss of something you can never replace. Ibn Ata'illah, he says that there are two types of huquq in time. Huquq al-awqat, two types. Huquq fil awqat, the rights within the time. So for instance, if it's right now, it's time for Jum'ah. This is the haqq of this time. If you miss the Jum'ah, you can make istidrak. So this is a type of haqq that you can make up. If you have a valid excuse, if you didn't have a valid excuse, you say astaghfirullah and hope Allah forgives you. But if you had a valid excuse, you can make up by praying dhuhr. So there are huquq that can tustadrak. They can be redressed. That's huquqan fil awqat. So these are the wada'if, the ibadat, those things, haqq al-walidain, birr al-walidain. You have a haqq for the parents. You have a haqq for your body to exercise. That's a haqq of the body. If you're not exercising every day, you are zalimun li nafsika. You're oppressing yourself because you're going to get sick. And sickness, as one of my teachers said, is largely a choice. Most sickness, people made themselves sick by not doing the things necessary to maintain their health. That's why preventative medicine is so important, right? The Arabs say a penny of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So you have to go out and exercise your body, or else your body is going to ya'tadi alayk. Because the zalim always, the madloom, fights the zalim. That's the nature of the madloom. People think, Palestinians, why are they doing what they're doing? Because it's a nature of the madloom. They will fight their zalim. They will fight. You can't oppress people without some type of reaction. So if you oppress your body is going to fight you. It will get sick. But you're the zalim. People pray for good health and then they don't exercise, they eat poorly, they eat. The angels, if they were like us, if they had spleens, as Shakespeare said, they'd be laughing at us. You pray for health and then you don't do anything about it. So faragh, qabla shughlika, your leisure time, every time has huquq. There are rights in every time. The other type is huquq al-awqat, la tustadrak. These are the rights of time. They can't be replaced. They can't be replaced. So for instance, if your parents are alive, and they're old, and you don't have filial piety towards them, meaning you're not showing them the respect and also taking care of them the way they need to be taken care of in their old age. And the Prophet ﷺ said, عَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ أَدْرَكَ أَبَوَيْهِ أَوْ أَحَدَهُمَا فِي كِبْرِهِمَا وَلَمْ يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ بِهِمَا. I don't understand how somebody could, because ajab is, you don't know the sabab. Like he's saying, I don't understand, it's incomprehensible how somebody can have their parents in old age, one of them or both of them, and they don't use it as a means to enter paradise. Just that alone, if a prostitute was forgiven for giving a dog water in the Sahih Hadith, what is the reward of taking care of your parents when they're old? One man came to Umar and he said, Ya Sayyidina Umar, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm washing my mother the way she used to wash me when I was a child. In other words, he's having to clean her because now, يُرَدِّدَ أَرْضَ الْعُمَرِ, they go back to the infancy. He said, I'm cleaning her the way she cleaned me. Is this mukafa'a? Is this recompense? And Umar said, La. No, He said, why not? He said, because when she was doing it, she was praying that you would live a long life. And when you're doing it, you're hoping she dies soon. Subhanallah. So faragh, this precious time, especially the students, you have this time, don't waste it. Don't waste it. Hasrat al-masbuq. And then there's students that won't waste it, and then you'll see them, they'll be honored. They'll get the honors when you graduate because they seize the moment, they seize their time. The same on Yawm al-Qiyamah. There's going to be people that are honored, and then there's going to be other people. So, and then, shababaka qabla haramika, your youth before your old age. And those of us who are in, and this is old age. So I'm speaking now, you know, I taught this hadith when I was 40, you know, or 35. I've known the hadith for a long time. But I didn't know what it meant. Because you don't know when you're a shab, you don't know what haram is. Would that my youth would return so I could tell what old age did to me. Because you see, the soul doesn't age. Because the soul is eternal, it's sempiternal. It was created, but it goes on forever. And that's why you'll never feel old in your consciousness. You won't feel old. You'll feel, when you're 60, you'll feel the same way you felt when you were 20. But when you get up too quickly, then you know something changed. See, he knows. We know. Yeah, suddenly, and you hear noises that you didn't hear when you were young. And you know something's changing. Then when we were young, all night we stayed up and studied. And then suddenly you do that, and 3, 4, 5 days it takes to recover. When you're young, you just get back. Same with cuts and wounds. When you're young, they heal so quickly. Little babies, they heal almost overnight. It's miraculous because there's so much life in them. Shabbat an-nar. You know, shabab is shabbat an-nar. It's the fire. We're in the embers. We're in the embers. When you get older, you're in the embers. The fire's gone, but there's still something there, but a little bit of warmth, but not like the fire of youth. So you have to use that time. Don't waste that time. They say Sofa is jundun min jundi iblis. I will is from the jund of Iblis. It's one of Iblis's armies. I'm going to one day. This is what Yusuf's brothers, you know, when they said, let's get rid of Yusuf and then we'll be salihin. That's what they said. Let's get rid of Yusuf, you know, because our father's doting over him. He forgot about us. Let's just get rid of him and then we'll be salihin. You know, just one more deal and then I'll stop. Right? That's what people say, but death comes on us suddenly. Sabiqu, sari'u. Moses alayhi salam, when Moses, he was given victory over Pharaoh, we just celebrated it, right? The victory of Moses over Pharaoh. So Moses, Allah says, Ya Bani Israel, qad anjaynakum. Right? Allah saved them min aduwikum wa wa'adnakum janib at-tur al-ayman. So he promised them to meet them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to meet Bani Israel. They have a special relationship with Allah for good and ill. For good and ill. Because Allah gave them so many prophets. See, we were given ulama. They were given anbiya. But our ummah is a chosen ummah. Right? We were given ulama. Ulama ummati ka anbiya'i bani Israel. One comes after another. Look at the ulama we've been given. No ummah has the scholars we've been given. No ummah. You show me any ummah that has the scholars that we've been given. Even their knowledge. Fakhruddin al-Razi says that he knows that a human being could not learn what he knew in one lifetime. Like he realized that. And if you read him, you'll know that the truth of that. How did Imam Nawawi do what he did in the short period of time? He died in his 40s. How did he leave behind that opus of work? Teaching, giving fatwa, meeting with students, all of these things. How did they do it? Sahih Bukhari. I have a facsimile of one of the great ulama of Sahih Bukhari. He wrote out the entire Bukhari by hand. By hand. People used to write whole books. Murabt al-Hajj, half his library, he transcribed the books because Mauritanians couldn't afford books. And the books were hard to come by, so they would literally copy out the books. Half his library is books that he copied with his own hand. How did they do that? They knew the value of time. I used to go to one of my teachers, and he always, Sheikh Abdullah Ibn Siddiq, he was one of the greatest ulama that I knew. Sheikh Abdullah Ibn Siddiq was the student of Muhammad al-Amin al-Shinqiti. He was one of the most brilliant minds that I've come across. One time, I was like 20 maybe, and they asked me the system of America, you know, like the Mahkam al-Ulya, and how does the court system work? So, civics class from high school, I started explaining it. He said, no. He said, there's 9 district courts. And he started explaining to the other ulama the system in America, the istitnaf, appeals court, how the Supreme Court worked. That was nothing to him. So I used to go and I would do my lesson, and he knew, mashallah, I mean, he was encyclopedic knowledge from Tajikanat. They say, al-ilmu jakani. When I finished, he would just say, are you done? I said, yeah. He'd go back to reading. Then I would go to another teacher, Sheikh Shaybani, Allah yarhamuhu, beautiful man, but very social. And I would always, when I finished the dars with him, he would have tea with me and we would just talk. And one day, and this is stupid, so, you know, لا تسألوا عن أشياء تبدأ تسؤكم. Don't ask about things, if you get the answer, they bother you. So I said to him, you know, when I go to Sheikh Abdullah Ibn Siddiq, you know, after the dars, he just goes back to reading. I never have tea with him. He said, but you always give me tea. He said, هو يقدر الأوقات أكثر مني. He values time more than I do. Murabt al-Hajj gave up tea because he felt it was a waste of his time. So these are maqamat. We can be social. The Prophet ﷺ sat with people, he spoke, but always in knowledge. Even his muzah, you know, his humor was always meaningful. It was always meaningful. He was humorous at times, but like salt. It should flavor, it shouldn't be the meal. And this is what's happening in our frivolous culture. We have a culture of frivolity. Everything's fun and games. All these comedians, if you watch these people, you'll kill your heart. If you watch all these comedies all the time, looking at things, laughing, joking, you'll kill your heart. كثرة الضحك تميت القلب. That's what the Salaf said. Too much laughing will kill your heart. The Prophet ﷺ, da'im al-ahzan, he was a serious man because he knew the momentousness. He wept a lot. His silence was long. Sukutuhu tawil. He was not a frivolous person. He was serious because life is serious and it comes to an end. And the last thing, this shabab qabla haramika, you know, this shabab before your old age, and finally ghinaka qabla faqrika. Take use of your independence before you're in need. If you have what you need in life, be very grateful, because once you lose it, that's all you can think about. Faqr is a terrible thing. To be poor and to be worrying about rent and and many people now, you see we have a crisis now all over this globe. So when Musa alayhi salam went, he was promised to meet him and his people, because it's Bani Israel. But he went first and he told them to follow him. So when he got there to Tur, he heard Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal to him, مَا أَعْجَلَكَ عَنْ قَوْمِكَ يَا Musa. What has caused you to hasten so quickly and leave your people behind? because he was told to come, and the promise was with Bani Israel. ما أعجلك عن قومك يا موسى قال هم أولئي, right? Those people في أثري, they're coming behind me. وعجلت إليك ربي لترضى, but I have hastened that you might be pleased. No taswif, no procrastination. He told Bani Israel to hasten that he would come. قال هم أولئي على أثري. They're على أثري. They're following behind me. And I have hastened to you. وعجلت إليك ربي لترضى. But Allah says, قال فإنا قد فتنا قومك من بعدك وضلهم السامري. No, your people, I tested them after you left them. Because Allah knows where they were. He's asking Musa, he knows, Allah knows, but this is khitab. He knows. But Musa tells him, I hasten to you. The Salaf said, khairul bir ajaluhu. The best of bir is what's quick. Al-Abbas radiyallahu anhu said, ما تم المعروف إلا بتعجيره فإذا عجله هنأه. No bir is completed unless it's done quickly. And this is why you have to respond to the khatar. But now, so when Musa comes, he finds them, they're worshiping the cow, the ijal, the calf, the golden calf. They waited. They were given manna and salwa. They were given all this, blessing. And then they forgot their Lord. So this is what happens. If you don't hasten, you'll go into ghafla, you'll go into heedlessness. And this is the disease. In fact, the disease of ghafla is so serious that Imam al-Junaid said, they say, أول واجب على مكلف ممكن من نظر أن يعرف. The first wajib is to know Allah. Imam al-Junaid said that the first sin is ghafla. And so the first wajib is to get that ghafla out of your heart. Because we're heedless. The humans are heedless. We're so easily distracted. When Layth ibn Yahya ibn Layth came to Imam Malik radiallahu anhu, and somebody came in, they were reading hadith. And somebody came in and said, oh, an elephant just came into Medina. This is a rare occurrence because they came from India, from Persia. An elephant came in a caravan. So everybody ran to go see the elephant. This happened to Sahaba too. When the caravan came, they all left. It's at the end of Surah Al-Jum'ah. They all left except for 12. Those were the ulul azmi of that group. And that's why Malik made 12 as the jama'ah. So they all ran to see the elephant, and only Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi was there. And Malik looked at him and he said, don't you want to see the elephant? He said, أنا ما أتيت من الأندلس لأرى الأفيال أتيت لأخذ من الرجال. I didn't come from Andalusia to look at elephants. I came to learn from men. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi was not the great scholar of the Malikis, but his riwayah is the one that all the Malikis depend on. He wasn't the greatest of those who narrate the Muwatta, but he had a sirr. And so Allah made him the one that the riwayah comes from. So, iyakum thumma iyakum, woe unto all of us, this procrastination, as our sister said earlier. Don't procrastinate. Don't put off for tomorrow what you can do today, as they say, right? Because the procrastinator has nadama on the day of judgment. He's going to have lots of nadama. And this is why Ibn al-Farid, he said, وَعُدْ مِنْ قَرِيبٍ وَاسْتَجِبْ وَاشْتَنِبْ غَدًا أُشَمِّرُ عَنْ سَاقِي اجْتِهَادٍ بِنَهْضَتِي. Like, hasten quickly to this affair and answer Allah's call, right? Answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's call. لِيُحْيِيكُمْ. He's calling to bring you back to life. Answer Allah's call. And avoid saying, غَدًا أُشَمِّرُ عَنْ سَاقِي اجْتِهَادًا بِنَهْضَتِي. Tomorrow I'm going to get it. This is Iblis. That's why Iblis, when you go to sleep, he says, oh, لَكَ لَيْلٌ طَوِيلٌ. You have a long night, don't worry. You have plenty of time to do it. You're young, enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Sheikh Muhammad al-Amin al-Shinqiti's son told me, Muhammad al-Mukhtar, Allah yarhamahu, he died, but I used to go to his house a lot when I lived in Medina, and he told me once that when he was young, because he was studying all the time, he saw all his friends playing soccer and doing things, and he wondered, like, am I just missing my youth doing all this? And so he went to Sheikh Muhammad al-Amin, and he told him what was happening in his heart. And so he said, leave all of your studies, and I want you to recite the Quran only. And that's what he started doing. And he said he had a big opening. So he became a great scholar. People from all over would sit in his tafsir class in the Haram al-Madani. All his friends who played soccer, if they're lucky, they were sitting in his class. So he said, and then he says, وَكُنْ صَارِمًا كَالْوَقْتِ فَالْمَقْتُ فِي عَسَى وَإِيَّاكَ عَلَّا هِيَ أَخْطَرُ عِلَّتِي. And be like the sword of time. Sword of time cuts. Imam Shafi'i said, إِن لَمْ تَقْطَعْ بِهِ قَطَعْكَ. Time is a sword. If you don't cut with it, it will cut you down. So he said, be صارما. Sarim also means like to be zealous and really serious, but it's also a type of sword. Kun صارما كالوقت, like time. Time just comes, it just cuts. فالمقت في عسى. Odiousness is in saying perhaps. وإياك عَلَّا. And beware of maybe. Because that's the most dangerous of causes for losing this time. وسير زمنا وانهض كثيرا فحظك البطالة ما أخرت عزما لصحتي. And he said then, go, take this time, set out on this journey, wanhad, and rise up, broken, كثيرا. Don't be arrogant, because batala is your state, as long as you're not working. And that's why Sayyidina Umar, he said, أكره أن أرى الناس سبهللا. It's a nice Arabic word for you. Sabahlala. I hate to see people wasting their time. Kun fi dunyaka aw fi ukhraka. Imam Malik was asked, who are the worst people? He said, الذين يضيعون آخرتهم لدنياهم. Those who lose their akhirah because of their dunya. He said, هل هناك أسوأ منهم? Is there anybody worse than them? He said, نعم. الذين يضيعون آخرتهم بدنيا غيرهم. Those who lose their akhirah because of other people's dunya. Just wishing they had what so-and-so had. And then he said, وَجُذَّ بِسَيْفِ الْعَزْمِ سَوْفَ. And then cut, jadda yajuddu. وَجُذَّ بِسَيْفِ الْعَزْمِ. Like with this sword of seriousness, of azima, cut sawfa out of your life. It's called harfu tanfis. Yunaffis, gives you time to breathe. Yunaffis, sawfa af'alu. Yunaffis anka. That's what it does. That's what Iblis does. Yunaffis anka. La bas, ma tkhaf. You'll get it done one day. One day never comes. And then he says, فَإِن تَجُذْ. If you cut it, تَجِدْ نَفَسًا. You will find this breath. You'll find this wind in your sails. فَالنَّفْسُ إِذَا جُدْتَ إِن جُدْتَ جَدَّتِ. Because your soul, if you're generous with it, by using it for its purpose, it will become serious.